is going through a very interesting moment right now, right? I mean, for so long, I think many people here thought it was a sideshow, that it was essentially an opportunity for some countries to get together and talk about things they'd like to do but would never do because they wouldn't want
Mhm.
to. And, there wasn't much buzz around it. But, as we've seen things play out in this world over the last year or two, particularly since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, especially since the war in Gaza began and Middle East instability became more intense, and as the U.S. Support for Israel has remained strong, and as the global South experiences significant levels of economic stress and feels indebted and feels that it's not getting the relief that it would like to get from Western-led entities and structures, you're seeing more interest in BRICS. And I think it's remarkable that Putin, who the West would like to isolate, he managed to bring, I believe, 36 countries to
Yeah.
Kazan, to Russia, for this BRICS summit. Not only that, the UN Secretary General went, which I think was
Mhm.
pretty significant. You have
Yeah.
4 new members. There's going to be a few more. Saudi Arabia has been offered membership. It hasn't formally joined yet, but will soon. Turkey could be joining. That would be pretty interesting as a NATO
Yeah.
member. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of buzz around BRICS, and I think it's impossible for even the sharpest critic of BRICS to say that, oh, this group doesn't mean anything. It does. So I
Mhm.
think for India, and this is what the article gets into, there's a
Mhm.
lot of advantages, which might seem counterintuitive because BRICS has always projected itself as an alternative to the West. You have new members coming in, including Iran, that are avowedly anti-West. Belarus may be joining, Cuba may be joining, and so here is India, which wants to balance its relations with the West and countries outside the West without appearing to be hostile to the other side, so to speak.
Mhm.
So I think
Mhm.
the risk for India might appear to be that if BRICS keeps becoming more prominent and robust, that it could become a substantive force that could actually counter the West with a new bank, with a new payment system that evades Western sanctions and all of that. But I argue in the piece that that may not be the case, and that benefits India. I think that this expanding BRICS is good for India because it's bringing on a number of new countries that are very close to India: UAE, Egypt, Ethiopia, um,
Mhm.
and there's that. And BRICS, as we saw through the joint statement released at the summit in Russia, it's articulating the very principles that India itself most prioritizes in its foreign policy, right? Embracing multipolarity, trying to engage with and advocate for the global South, calling for the reform of international institutions, including the UN. These are major Indian foreign policy goals. I think that's important and great. But here, on the issue of what BRICS could become, I would argue, and here I sort of acknowledge that a lot of the longstanding criticism of BRICS is still in place. I
Mhm.
think that you have a lot of countries within BRICS that don't get along with each other, even if India gets along with most of them. I think it makes
Mhm.
it difficult for the group to achieve the type of cohesion and consensus that would be needed in order to make this group come out with specific projects and initiatives that would actually pose a threat to the West. So I don't think that you're going to see a formal new international payment system. I don't think you're going to see things like that. Not to mention, some of the BRICS countries, including India, would likely be uncomfortable about any type of entity meant to reduce reliance on the dollar, given how important the dollar is to the Indian economy, the Brazilian economy, the South African economy, even the Chinese economy. So
Mhm.
at the end of the day, what I argue in the piece is that India's in a good place with BRICS. It serves India's interests, but I think that at the same time, it's something that its own continued constraints benefit India as well, because that means it will not turn into this bona fide threat to the West and that type of thing. And India would not want to be part of something that would be perceived in that way.